help others, you're always going to be brought up. You'll always be able to stand tall and feel good about what you're doing, and you're always going to move forward and be okay. The moment you start thinking about just yourself, things are going to start to crumble.
Welcome to One More Thing, a podcast like no other. I'm Thompson, coach, speaker, and turnaround artist, driven by enthusiasm and fueled by passion in everything I do.
And I'm Tori, creative engineer and marketing guru. You're about to experience a podcast that will challenge you to think, reflect, laugh, and grow.
Come along with us as we share stories that will inspire you to be the best version of you.
It's all about embracing change and the power of transformation.
Know we believe in you. We've got your back. You've got this.
All that we ask of you is to show up with an open mind and an enthusiastic heart.
So sit down, buckle up, and hold on. We are delighted and thrilled to have very special guests this morning, but I wanted to kind of preface this by saying this time of year, typically we are all about introspection, retrospection, things we would like to launch, adventures we would like to create for the new year. I don't have any, so don't think that it's something that you have to do right now. But our very special guests today are people who not only inspire us on a daily basis and are very, very dear friends, but embarked on something that I think might speak to our audience. And Tori and I felt like this was important enough to tell this story, and we wanted to come straight from them. But we also wanted you to say, listen, if they can do it, I can do it. And perhaps they inspire you to launch forward. So without further ado, and without killing a story and giving you the end of the story already, Alan and Cathy Harry are joining us from South Carolina. And I want to tell you that's not where they were as little over a year ago, guys. Would it be a little over a year ago?
Yeah,
Okay, so these guys were here in California and now live in South Carolina. And within a year's time frame, their entire life has blown up. And they are and have the life that they deserve and the life that they have created as a result of following their dreams and pursuing this with challenges and those things that could have maybe been fearful, which they'll tell you about. But hey, all of us do. I just applaud them, and they inspire me every single day. And I'm fortunate enough to have Fridays talks with them, so they keep me going. But we sure do miss them on our end of the coast. But South Carolina is lucky, better for having the Harrys out there. So Alan and Cathy, welcome this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. And before we get started too far, we wanted to say Happy New Year's Eve.
Yay! Happy New Year's Eve. Thank you very much for that. I know you guys have probably a lot of goals and things that you have set for the new year, but can you take us back for the purpose of this and tell us a little bit about how this nugget started when you were here in California and what ultimately then took you to South Carolina?
I'll let you drive and I'll chime in. How's that?
You do it however you want to do it.
There's a lot of pieces to this puzzle.
So much time.
So about 30 years ago, Cathy and I met, and we had a dream. And that dream, sorry, I get choked up way too easy.
This is good, Alan. This is good. Don't do that. That's good.
But that dream was to be together 24/7, 365. And at that time, it was not possible because we were raising children and both had our own careers. Cathy's in real estate and mine in local government. And it just wasn't really possible at that point in time. But as we grew older and our kids grew older and moved on, we were given the opportunity to live in Truckee, California, raise our kids there. We then moved down to the Sacramento Valley to take care of ailing parents, both my father and Cathy's mom. And then when we finally realized that we were the elders and that we were working so hard for everybody else's dreams,
very
and
interesting.
not for our own, we decided that we would make a change, and that we would take a risk. And in doing so, we, after a lot of planning, unbeknownst to anybody that knew us, quite frankly, we decided that we would leave the comfort of California and our friends and our family and follow a dream that we had had for about 15 years of moving to the South. So that basically, in a nutshell, is what got us to the point where we knew that we had to pick up sticks and we had to go.
Let me ask you a question there, Alan, as it relates to that, because you touched upon a lot of things that people of our generation, Tori, sorry, are dealing with, and that would be ailing parents, putting things on hold, having dreams that were out before you. Did you have a lot of naysayers when you finally came forward and people who said, oh, you guys, that's ridiculous. Why would you do that? I mean, come on. Or did you feel like, no, we were really good and solid with where we were going because we were together and we were going to be a force? How did that play out?
Well, I think that between the two of us, and please chime in whatever you'd like, but between the two of us, solid in what we wanted to do. There was no question about that.
Our relationship has always been faith and family and then fun. Those are kind of the three.
Oh, I love that.
Faith, family, and fun, and foundation in there. So probably 4 F's, right? So it was really important, and has always been in our relationship that the foundation was us based on faith. That's our foundation, and we try not to detour from it too far. And even when catastrophic things happen in your life, and we've had a few, we have friends that say, you guys are the comeback king and queen. You guys bounce right back. I can't.
Amen.
It's just like, how do you do that? And it goes back to that faith and foundation and family and then fun. If it's not fun, it's not fun.
That a girl. That a girl.
I need to add that you said, were there some naysayers? And I can tell you that when we originally moved off of the mountain in Truckee and we moved down to Cameron Park to take care of my dad, 9 out of 10 people thought that we were making a foolish move.
We have a lot of friends there.
We had people tell us, you should just put your dad in a home. You shouldn't pick up sticks and and put your own lives in jeopardy. And you take the careers that you've been working on for years and do this.
What are you doing? Where are you going?
And funny, within 6 months after we left, I would say that 8 of those 9 people called me or called Cathy and apologized and said, we wish that we had actually done what you did because my parents are gone. And we didn't last few months or years with them.
Mm-hmm.
So we did have naysayers. Moving out here, goodness, I can tell you that 99% of the folks, including our kids, didn't.
Kind of cranky about it.
We still have some cranky ones about it.
That's why they make airplanes, though.
That's very good, Cathy.
We always went back to what Cathy said, and that is, it was our foundation was always that if we were happy, and that if we held it together, then everything else around us was going to work. The kids would grow up and become good citizens, which they did. Our friends would learn and grow as we would learn and grow from learning, things through them. And then taking the move and deciding, to sell the house in Elk Grove, which initially people thought, oh, they're just going to move to another home. Maybe they're going to move to Fair Oaks.
Yay for me!
But then it came out that no, we're packing everything up, and on June 5th we are going to be leaving. June 2nd, of 2018. Mm-hmm. We put everything into pods, everything into our car, along with our dog Jake, and we made the trek out here. So I think in keeping with your thought about what could people take away from that, 1, have a foundation, 2, have a dream. Because what's the line? Dreams don't have deadlines. It doesn't matter how young or how old you are. your dreams are something that's very important. And if you don't have them, and if you don't act on them, there's going to be a point in time in the future when you're going to regret that.
Yeah.
So,
Amen. Amen. I wanted to, because you guys have always been so authentic and genuine and thinking about people from the standpoint of where they might be relative to a decision such as this. And Alan, I have commented and I have complimented you on how forthcoming you were about fears. And I loved that evening that we spent together when you said, hey, Kyle, make no mistake about it. There are fears that are involved here that I'm overcoming.
yeah.
And so you don't remember that? Is that what you said?
Oh, no, I do remember that.
I was like, wait a minute.
So no,
I'm so
that
sorry.
wasn't me.
Alan, okay, never mind. Cut. Wait. But what I did want to say was, do you mind sharing? Because there are people out there, naturally, they're going to feel like their feet are stuck in quicksand in whatever it is. And this endeavor was large, but no matter what the size of the endeavor or the dream, what were some of those fears and how did you address those for folks that are out there listening?
Well, I mean, how do you, as Cathy always says, I mean, how do you eat an elephant? You eat it one bite at a time.
Yeah.
Well,
and I think some of the fears that we had, it's kind of funny because we didn't have a job. People are like, and my mom was always said, you know what? Divine intervention. She goes, you just go. Don't worry about it. You get to the other end, it's going to happen.
God bless her.
And I always wondered how I had that attitude. And it wasn't until I lost my mom and I started, thinking about some of the things that she had always said. And I do a lot of writing and I've always kept notes and I go back and I go, yeah, no wonder, it's my mom. Anyway, what was my point? So it's divine intervention. She would go there and say, just go. And so we left without jobs. We had an idea where we might land. And as it turned out, through that year and a half, we had changed. We started with a real estate company who was great, wonderful, but it didn't quite fit. And one of the things that we talked about, because we knew we were going to be here talking to you, and we were kind of looking back and thinking and what we call whispers, things that would happen. They just happened, but they were very much in line with the direction we wanted to go. And so we felt we were on the right path. Well, seems crazy, I know, but
No, I love it.
Crazy little one, golf balls.
Oh, that's a good.
So my father was an avid golfer. He played golf all the way up until his
He retired
early
at 42
80s.
and he played until he couldn't play anymore.
And he quit playing golf to take care of my mom until she passed. So when we moved out of camp, but golf balls, my dad always picked up golf balls in the front yard of his house, backyard of his house, because he was living next to a golf course. And so my dad passed away and we moved from Cameron Park to Elk Grove, not near a golf course or any place where anybody plays golf.
Roundabout.
And what did we find on our table in the backyard one day?
Oh.
Realist one golf ball.
Golf ball.
Oh.
Wow.
Okay, well, that's interesting, but we'll just keep moving, right? So then we pick up sticks and we start making our trek across the country.
27 miles.
And we stopped at what was called a rest stop, but it was nothing more than 3 big garbage bins and on the side of the road.
When you go east.
And I the dog out to let him go do his thing. And I looked down in front of the car, and there at the curb was a Titleist 1 golf ball.
Oh my gosh.
In the middle of nowhere.
Oh my gosh.
So then we move out here and we get in our Airbnb that we stayed in for 2 months. And I would say if anybody is thinking about making a change, Airbnb works great because you can get to know the area before you land in a house.
Good plug.
Yeah. We are now sponsored by Airbnb.
Jake for a walk. And we're walking through this little neighborhood that we were staying in, and there, right in front of me, on the side of the road, was a Titleist 1 golf ball.
Okay. Now.
Oh my gosh.
So whispers, as Cathy said, those are little whispers telling me that my dad was watching over us.
Oh, you bet.
And that he was okay with the move that we had made. And
We
continued to find golf balls all the time. And it's in places where you would never seem to find one.
It's like he's with you. It was his way of saying he sensed that you were fearful, maybe, and said, "No, I'm right there. I got your back.
This is your path. Follow this path."
Yeah.
When you make decisions, pay attention. I think when you throw it out to the universe, and if you're a faith-driven person and you're looking for that feedback, you're gonna, if you look for it, it's that reticular activator, right? You're gonna see it, and then you're kind of like, oh, it actually gives you some comfort because it is scary. You're out 2,700 miles. When we left, it was like we knew nobody on the road except we have a son here in South Carolina. Now we have two here that, that he was just tracking us as we went, but we were, you're on your own. And it was great because it was a great adventure, very, very much adventurous. When we finally put down sticks, then we're like, wow, who just did that? and then we found employment again. We have made some really great friends. We are in Rotary. We're lifelong Rotarians, and we have been in a number of clubs, Roseville and Truckee and Simpsonville, and now in Greenville, the Reedy River Rotary Club. And so when we joined that club, it was really great because there is a family in Rotary, and when we showed up, they looked at us and they go, "Oh, you're Rotarians." I go, "Yeah." Connected on a level because we're all about community and giving back and peace and doing well for others and service above self. And so that piece was a real important part. So if somebody were to look to make a decision, whether it's moving or changing, you want to seek out those avenues where you have familiarity with, concepts or people or ideals, because it's kind of like the icing on the cake. Cake tastes so much better with icing. And, when you have that, I think that's something to think about. You think you're scared and it's like, oh God, I'm going to go do this and I don't know anybody. But the world is a big place, but it's really kind of a small place. You'll find people.
Amen.
Yeah. We know a gal, and I'll call it up in Truckee, Candace Cable. She's a para-athlete in a wheelchair. And has been for a good part of her life. We get out here and we meet another gal, Lori Rappel. She knew we were from Tahoe. We say trekking. She's like, I don't know where that is. I go, Tahoe? She goes, oh, yeah, I know. We're very good friends.
She knows.
Wow.
And so it's like, gives me goosebumps. I'm like, okay, we're so here. Yeah, it was great. So
I want, I'm sorry, Ellen, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so we talked about having a dream. And we talked about putting that dream into action. And then the fear kicks in, as you said. And you are working with a company and you're there for 6 months and you don't have one sale for 6 months. Talk about income coming in, a lot of money going out.
Yeah.
And then, but you can't lose. You
gotta go back to that foundation.
You got to hold on to the dream that you had and hold on to the foundation. And we are together as we've always wanted to be, 24/7, 365. And we thought, we just got to keep on putting our head down and forging forward to have this happen. And then, as Cathy said, the reticular activator, what you focus on will expand. If you focus on fear, it will expand. If you focus on success, it will expand. And so what happens one day, we're at an open house, we're minding our own business. This couple comes walking in. They don't give us the time of day.
We were realtors, We're like, no.
They packed up their stuff. They wouldn't take any of our flyers or information.
We worked so hard on them too.
And then that evening, we got home. And there was an email from them saying, you guys are a breath of fresh air. Would you please help us find our next home here in the upstate? So not only do we meet those folks, but they then brought us and allowed us to see Travelers Rest, South Carolina. So Simpsonville, where we lived, is a suburb of Greenville. And that would be like living in Elk Grove outside of Sacramento, or living in Rancho Cordova outside of Sacramento. You have strip centers and all that kind of stuff. Busy place, lots and lots of people, lots and lots of traffic, just stores everywhere.
We imagined a little bit less of that for ourselves.
And then one day, Bob and Anna said, hey, we want to go to Travelers Rest. Can you go up there with us? And we did. We showed them a house that was not for them. And they said, do you have 15 minutes more? Can we just take the drive up the road a piece? And we came up to what was nothing but woods and a sign saying, homes coming soon.
Love it.
It was Foothill Views out of Travelers Rest in South Carolina, where we have since built a home, have Bob and Anna as our next door neighbors, because we sold them their house and their lot. And as you trudge through all this stuff and you worry, the little things like meeting Bob and Anna, a fortuitous opportunity, coming up here and having them show us this property, another fortuitous opportunity. Fortuitous was my word for last year. In that we have left the brokerage that we were with. We went with a new brokerage, which is owned by the builder of our home, Enchanted Construction Services. We have a 50-unit townhouse subdivision coming online with, like, the permits were pulled last week. They're going to start building them, and we will be sitting there and selling those homes. All of those things wouldn't have happened if they weren't supposed to. Right. And in fact, we were there the day after Christmas looking at the Pines, this little subdivision, and we drove in. We didn't plan on being there at any given time.
We were kind of lagging to get there, actually.
We finally pull in, and who is there but the owner of Enchanted Construction? And they rolled their window down and said, hey, you guys ready to sell some homes? And here we are. We're right here. But again, how fortuitous it was that I have to say this, that God put us in that place at that time to then be able to see them and give us just that little bit more energy and oomph to make it over the next day and keep things rolling.
Now call us in June, because I'm absolutely sure we're going to be crazy busy. Because just like in California here, the demand is great. They're still trying to get ahead on inventory, and so by June we might be pulling our hair out going, wow.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing, though. So let's, from the standpoint of, again, recognizing that there are people that are listening to this podcast, and bravo, because your praises are not sung enough for what you have done in the short period of time that you've been there. You bought a home when you initially got there, sold that home, and then built this beautiful home, and are now living a dream life in the place that you wanted to be. And like you said, Alan, there's no way you would have gotten to that place unless you would have gone through those challenges, those fears, and all of that on the other side. Like, oh my God, I knew they were tough. I knew it was going to be this, but I never thought that I would realize that. The three things, and even if it's more, 3 things that you think are absolutely essential for somebody who's in your place back in May of 2018, who's contemplating this, who says, okay, I've got to do something. So what would you say? Steps? Yeah, what would be the first steps?
I'd do homework, because we did a lot of that, and that was helpful because it wasn't going completely blind. I think that's a real key point. A lot of homework.
How did you, Cathy, sorry, just to interrupt you, how did you end up deciding on South Carolina?
Couple of reasons. Well, family.
Our only grandchildren are out here.
Yeah.
So that was a driving factor.
Yes.
I used to say I was getting tired of watching our grandchildren grow up on our refrigerator. So if you want to be part of your family and whatever that means to people, and you want to be with them, we had to make that change, because we decided, we'd fly out and see them, and it was a great week or 2 weeks. But then we were completely depressed when we went back, and then it was just either, FaceTime or on the refrigerator, we're missing so much. So that was a big driver for us.
We also knew that we wanted to be out of California. We knew that we wanted to be in the South somewhere. The year after Katrina, we flew to Houston, drove down to Galveston, and drove the Gulf Coast all the way to Florida, and investigated Alabama and Mississippi and Louisiana and Florida. We had never gone up into the Carolinas until Adam and his wife Winnie and the two little ones moved out here about 6 years ago. And so what would you do? Before we left in 2018, we had driven the state. Because we knew we wanted to be here. And it's that investigation. If you're people our age, you want to end up someplace where the taxes are a lot less. The taxes are more manageable. The cost of living is better for you because we're not made of money, but you want to find all these things and you start doing some research. Luckily, we have some friends that had done that, and they were the ones that took the arrows as they went out and foraged through the country to figure out where they wanted to be, and they ended up in Florida. Florida, we realized, was not for us, but we had done the research. We spent 2 weeks driving around the upstate of South Carolina and finally determined that no matter where we went, we always wanted to come back to Greenville County, which is close to the kids, but far enough away that we could have our own life as well. So it's the research. It's holding on to the dream. I have to keep going back to that. If you have it, look at it every day. Put it up on a dream board. Do something that will force you to always look at it, and just not let go of that, no matter what anybody says or what anybody does. You just need to be strong. You got to follow your heart.
It'll mean so much when you get there too.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
Do you have now, in retrospect, anything that you would have done differently?
We probably wouldn't have bought the house in Simpsonville.
yeah. We were struggling to find a place to plant books and whatnot, and we really didn't know the areas. I mean, we really went in depth.
Well, no, but let me think about this.
But it's important.
You know what? If we had gone to Simpsonville, we wouldn't have done the open house.
Exactly. True. Exactly.
Neighborhood as our friends.
Yeah,
'cause
we
have a
wouldn't
lot of
have met
people
all those people that were there at Mealy Farm. I think everything that we did, we were supposed to do.
You're in the present. It happens. Keep moving on. I think that's
No
I can
regrets.
hope that we have a greater respect for faith
Oh, very nice.
than we have
wanted to go
had
back
for
to that.
years.
We wanted to go back. to
And
that.
we have been going back to that. And, we have some friends that don't really see eye to eye with that part of it, but that's okay. Everybody has their own way of doing things.
We'll pray for him anyway.
We just,
Good girl.
and when you're out in the South, you always hear that you're blessed. And,
Yes.
And everybody's ma'am and everybody is sir. And I think in many ways we've gone back to the roots that we came from our parents.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be that way out here, whereas it may not be politically correct to be that way in some other places. But it's pretty cool. I don't think we've made any mistakes
No,
in what
we
we've done.
made so many friends. One of the things I was worried about it was going to take 3-5 years, whatever, to get to know people and just and here it's funny. We have some friends, the Cohens, who 3 years ago when we came out, we met him at a hotel where we stayed in Clemson, because we were looking around. Turned out we worked with his wife at the real estate company. It was like,
Oh my gosh.
another one of those things like this.
Small world. Yeah.
But they I'm sure they look at us like they're crazy California people, right? It's like they kind of give us a little bit of this, but
Yep.
Who doesn't?
everybody is so friendly and very welcoming. It just has gone way beyond what we thought it would ever be. We do pinch ourselves. We get up in this house and we walk around, we see our view, we see the people.
Oh.
We've had opportunity to help in the community. And it just feels right. It just feels right. And sometimes, you know, as you're cruising across the United States, or you're in a situation that you're like, wow, was this right? Did I ask myself? And I always found myself saying, yeah, it still feels right. There's a lot of challenges going on. We weren't making any money, but it still feels right.
So very much so. So one thing I need to add to all this, and it's not so much what we thought about in 2018, but it's what we determined we needed as we were making our headway in our careers and our lives here. We found a coach. And
coaching is good.
Coaching is good.
Thanks, Cathy.
And we found a coach who stuck with us, pushed us around a little
Probably
bit.
thought we were crazy.
Forced us to really look hard, look in the mirror, see what you're seeing, and if you don't like it, make a change. But one of the things that this individual said to us,
which was Michael Fanning, he's out of Washington. Yeah.
our old ninja teacher, one of the things that he said to us, he said, where do you want to be? You're in South Carolina.
I'm sure we're driving him crazy.
Where do you want to be? He said, you're right at the edge. You're at the precipice. Your career is about ready to take off. You've done everything that you need to do. You need to be where you want to be, so this will actually happen. And he said, where do you want to be? And we're looking at each other and we said, well, we want to be in Traveler's Rest. He said, then go.
Do it. Kind of like, boom.
Yeah. And so we started marketing Traveler's Rest. We started driving into Traveler's Rest. We started going to the restaurants, going to the farmers markets, getting to know the people that are up here. And they're a lot like those that lived in Truckee, California.
This is where we should
So it just made it very clear that we needed to be here. So again.
So thank you, Michael.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. But Kyle, great coach you are.
Oh, thank you, Alan, for the plug. I will tip you generously.
Tori, when we were struggling because we're trying to do the marketing stuff, so I go, who do I know in marketing that I can trust, right? And so
awesome.
You know it's backwards.
It's backwards, but anyway, our symbol is the pineapple, which is
symbol of friendship.
Symbol of friendship, but I always say
that's perfect.
Wear a crown, right? So,
love it.
Yeah, but I think both of you guys have been very instrumental in helping us when we needed a sounding board or whatever, or a friend to listen. That was, I mean, we always say our Fridays with Kyle, right? So,
I have to say, you guys are the blessing, truly.
We really enjoy it. Hopefully we can keep it up. And I wanted to share before, because I know we only have so much time. I wanted to share what our words were for this.
That's what I was going to. So I was going to preface this by saying, and Alan, you kind of gave us a nice segue, because your word last year was fortuitous, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's correct.
So for the listeners that are out there, we challenge one another to have a word that represents what the new year will be. I loved fortuitous. That was great. So I asked Alan and Cathy, we had said, we want to know what your individual words are. And because they work together, they're going to have a team word. So Cathy, would you like to share that?
Yeah, I'll start with the team one because that's easy. You can go last. How's that? Driver here. So our team word for the year is, and I stole this, but it came through one of the ninja training portals that we're on. But he of course asked the same thing, and I gave my word, but the team word is complete. And so it's things like completing our Ninja 9, because we do that a lot. And so that's our daily routines, and completing our thoughts and actions. So often in real estate, you have these great ideas, and then you get 2/3 of the way through, and then it falls apart because you're on to the next thing or the next, shiny object. So for us, and that's a challenge for us. And so one of the things that we agreed to do as a team is we're going to go this, and we're going to complete it. Then we're going to go to the next one and complete it. We're going to go this one and complete it. So complete was the team word. And then
love that.
Mine is thrive. I wish everybody to thrive. This is going to be our year, I think, to really thrive and push forward. And as a result, there'll be a lot of good coming out of that. So thrive seemed to be the word for me.
I love that.
And you're up.
Alan?
So my word for the year is joy.
Oh, love it.
And I stole this too. I stole this from a gentleman named Dabo Sweeney. And Dabo Sweeney is the coach of the Clemson Tigers.
You know the one's going to the national champs again?
And Dabo here in a previous year, I don't know if it was this last year or the year prior, but I read a long article about it. But he is a very faithful man. During his life, he hasn't always been successful, and he hasn't always been right. He has been pushed around quite a bit.
Read up on him.
He's a really special man.
Yeah.
But his word one year in the past, was joy. And it's Jesus, others, and yourself.
Love it.
That is my word for the year, because I want to share our joy with everyone that comes upon us. And I want to think about faith. So I have to back up. When we went to work with Enchanted Construction Services and their real estate arm, Cornerstone, we went to an interview. And the president of our company, Aaron, looked at us and said, "You guys seem to be great people. I have to tell you what our philosophy is here at this company."
Well, he asked us about our ideals, and we just kind of went, because no one ever asked us that.
Yeah, where do you get asked your ideals when you go into an interview?
Love that.
He looked at me and he said, "Okay, God, family, and occupation in that order. And if you can live with that, you can be with us for as long as you want to."
Love that.
And I looked at him and I said, "Where have you been all my life?"
We're home. We're home.
And so I think just we're going to have the opportunity this year to thrive, help others thrive, continue with the Homes for a Cure program that we have here, where we donate 10% of every commission back to the Susan Komen Foundation in South Carolina. It's just thinking about everybody. If you help others, you're always going to be brought up. You'll always be able to stand tall and feel good about what you're doing, and you're always going to move forward and be okay. The moment you start thinking about just yourself, things are going to start to crumble. So, yeah.
That's another good
joy.
thing to focus on is, even you might be going through some of these struggles, but get out of that and get into helping others. I don't know, you probably remember, I was talking to Alan about this, but that solo Atlantic rower, what was her name, Deborah Searle?
Oh, yeah.
So if people haven't seen that TED Talks, it's just so great, because in the end, she talked about it's not really magic, it's mindset. And so if you find yourself in the doldrums of I can't do it, or I'm afraid, or I'm, it is truly about mindset. You got to clear that CPU and reboot it and put in some programs that are positive, and helping people is part of that. You will thrive. That's what happens.
Amen. You're on your way. I can feel it already.
I love it.
Well, go ahead, Alan.
The one thing that Deborah Searle said as she was rowing across the Atlantic on her own,
Her husband
because her husband said, "I can't do this," and she was all by herself. What she did is she played the movie in her head over and over
Your
again.
rival scene.
And it was
I love that.
at the end of her journey.
Yes.
And she continuously played the joy on the people that were at the dock when she came in, the joy on their face, the fact that she was able to get out of the boat and walk back onto land on her own. She played that constantly in her head. And by doing so, she was able to complete and be successful in doing
it. Kind
that.
of goes back to your thing. I know you're working on vision boards now, so it's that vision, looking forward and playing the rival scene and envisioning it. Your mind doesn't know any different. And so when you imagine that, it happens. So you will thrive.
I think in light of what you guys were talking about, one of the things as it relates to this particular topic, and you guys being so candid and forthcoming, I loved your word for complete for the team, because I think that could be a wish for our listeners and our viewers. Complete that vision, complete that dream, complete the research, complete those things that you want, right? So piecing that together and connecting with that.
It was a great one.
It's that, I like that one. We're stealing that for the listeners and the viewers. Just thought I'd let you know. We're just going to do that. But I wanted to thank you guys in the interest of your time and for having taken this time with us this morning, this afternoon for you. And doing this is such an important thing for us. And we just could not think of a better way to launch into the new year than to have two of our favorite people telling their story. And I think and know it will resonate with a lot of folks who are watching and listening. And I just cannot thank you more than words. And I love you with all of my heart. We just think the world of you guys.
We love you guys too.
Yeah.
So glad that we're able to share your story.
I love you guys. Go complete the day. Go thrive with joy. We love you, and thank you again for taking the time to do this morning. It couldn't be a better year, and no two more deserving people than the two of you.
Yes.
Thank you.
We love you guys.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Bye.
Bye.